Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Countdown to Infinity. This is episode 6. Today we're going to be talking about the Avengers. I don't know. It's okay. Whatever. I'm James, and I'm, of course, joined by
Matt.
Mr. Matthew Wiggins.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, Matt.
I'm Matt.
How's it going?
It's going.
You ready?
It's good.
You ready to talk about this super mediocre movie that nobody cares about?
Yeah, it's fine.
This is just the filler episode to get to the real meat and potatoes, which is Thor 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm excited to get to Thor 2. Okay, I'm done with this. Oh god, this movie is so good, Matt.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this movie's amazing.
It's so freaking good. It also just on a fundamental level of execution by a major Hollywood studio, this shouldn't have worked. You should not have been able to make 5 really good superhero movies that lead into this massive catch-all, get the whole team together. You have to have been watching this series for the last 4 years, right? Avengers coming out in 2012. That's 4 years after the original Iron Man came out.
Yeah.
And they're saying, if you want to enjoy this movie to its fullest, then you need to have already seen 5 films.
But see, this is one of the brilliant things about this film is almost perfect. Almost the perfect movie. Because you don't need to have seen the previous 5 films. It works.
It does. Okay, yeah, I will give you that. It does work, but you will get so much more out of it.
Oh, definitely.
But if you had seen the previous 5 movies.
But this movie is... And I want to get into a little bit of why that is, but this movie also just works if you just drop in here and watch this in and of itself, without a lot of familiarity with the previous, the characters that are in it.
Yeah, that's fair. I think you could. I was actually wondering about that today. If you had to pick, if somebody was like, I'm gonna watch one movie and then the Avengers, which movie do I watch? It's a toss-up between Iron Man or Captain America, in my opinion. I don't think Hulk factors into it at all.
Yeah.
I think you don't need to worry about Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
And the Thor is obviously, it's probably number 3 there, but it's definitely behind Iron Man and Captain America.
Yeah.
But you're right. It is a movie that one could just watch without seeing the rest of them and be like, all right, I feel like I'm caught up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from a individual character point of view, it basically gives you a quick, crash course in who everybody is. So it doesn't really require a whole lot of grounding in the franchise in order to get into and enjoy. But man, this movie's so good. It
is really good.
I'm going to be probably gushing about this movie a lot over the course of the events.
That's fair. Well, let's run down some of these. Let's run down some of these names and stuff. Directed by Joss Whedon.
Mm-hmm.
And you might know him from...
is it ever directed by Joss Whedon?
Yeah, it really is. I remember when this movie was in production, and the sort of the nerd universe found out that Joss Whedon had somehow managed to sort of fall into the directing chair of what would arguably be one of the biggest movies ever made up until this point.
Yep.
And you're just like, wait, really? You're going to give it to the Buffy, you're going to give it to the Angel guy, you're going to give it to the Serenity, and it's like, okay. I mean,
sure.
Neat.
Why not?
But nobody could have guessed he could have pulled out what he did.
Oh, yeah.
This is a really well directed movie. It's just really good. What else we got here? We got all of our favorites. We got Robert Downey Jr. We got Chris Evans. We got Mark Ruffalo. Mark Ruffalo, obviously new.
His first turn is the Hulk.
Yeah, this is the first time we're seeing him, and they kind of just waltz right past it, which is good. I'm honestly a little shocked they didn't even make a little bit of a joke. Because they did in Iron Man 2 when they had to replace Rhodey. There's a real, just a small little, it's me. when he walked into the hearing at the beginning of that movie. But with this one, they were just like, nope, Mark Ruffalo, it's the Hulk, deal with it.
Yeah.
That's fine. And then Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson, Jeremy Renner, Tom Hiddleston. Everybody's in this movie.
Yep.
Clark Gregg. We definitely want to talk about Mr. Coulson a little later. I know I was texting you last night while we were watching this movie about that.
Yep.
Colby Smulders.
Yep.
Making her debut.
Yep.
Which is pretty sweet. And we got the guy who plays what's it? Stellan
Skarsgård.
It is Stellan Skarsgård. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Sam Jackson is back. Man, look at this. Look at this number. Budget was $220 million. It made $1.5 billion.
What? That's a lot of money.
143-minute runtime. Doesn't feel like it.
Nope.
It moves at a very impressive pace. I'm hoping that the Infinity War is at least double the runtime of this movie.
At least.
If it's not 280 minutes long, then they've done something wrong. Something entirely wrong.
Yep.
But hey, let's. Okay, I'm excited for this one, Matt.
Okay.
What happens in the Avengers?
Okay. Well, I want to take a slightly different tack on this time.
I think you have to.
I do. And rather than diving straight into the events of the film, I want to introduce or reintroduce our listeners to a model of team formation. The model of team formation is known as Tuckman's model. It was introduced in 1965 by Bruce Tuckman, and he identifies 4 stages of team development. And actually, in the 1970s, he introduced a 5th stage, and those stages are forming, storming, norming, and performing. And then the 5th stage that he added later on was adjourning. And these 5 stages are actually well represented in this film. And if you consider the main character of this movie to be the Avengers as a team rather than any individual character, you get this really nice cohesive arc that fits a naturally occurring and relatively well identified model of team behavior. And that's really cool. So, like, at the opening of this movie, you've got the team. They're scattered around the world. They're all superheroes. They're all doing their own thing. And, an event sets off, and Nick Fury is like, all right, we got to get the team together. So they head out, and they recruit all the members of the team. And the team comes together, and, they fight to start with, but eventually they all get assembled on the helicarrier and begin to do their thing. But all does not go super well. They don't get along. They don't play nice with others. They're so used to doing their own thing. They're getting on each other's case and pulling at each other's strings. And then Loki's men attack. And the result there is that they do manage to sort of put their conflicts aside and fight back, but they face a serious loss, and the helicarrier that they're on is disabled badly and damaged and destroyed. And then they sort of rally back and realize, spurred on by the death of their friend, Agent Coulson, they gel back together, and they realize that if they're going to save the world and if they're going to stop Loki's plan, they're going to need to put all their differences aside once and for all, come together and use all their skills to protect the Earth. So then they determine that New York is where the final battle is going to take, and so they head out to New York, and they get there, and they start norming. They start figuring out what each person's role is going to be and how they fit into the team. There's a point where Iron Man actually says, "Take it away, Cap," and tells Captain America to actually start issuing orders and taking the leadership position. And the team all slot into their roles, and they all start taking orders, and they all start performing as a team. And as they are, using their skills and working together effectively. They become more than the sum of their parts. They save the world, they save New York, and then they all go their separate ways. And you've got this nice fluid arc that really matches the development of a high-performing team. And I think that's really cool. This movie is basically a textbook for a leadership seminar. So if you ever go to a team leadership seminar and they don't play you the Avengers, ask for your money back.
I mean, you've also more or less just described a 5-act story.
Well, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it falls into... I mean, I bring this up because I actually watched a video last night.
I watched the same video the night
Did
before
you watch the same
last.
Video?
Yeah, it was the Avengers as analyzed via a 3-act structure and a 5-act structure. Yeah,
exactly. And I'll link that video below because it was a really good video. I mean, at the end of the day, it basically is just explaining how perfectly the Avengers more or less fits into the 3-act structure. And the 5-act structure, with the only difference really between a 3 and a 5, if you didn't already know, is you take that second act and you break that down
into three sub-acts.
Yeah. And it's just a really great video explaining how this movie fits more or less perfectly into those structures, which is really good because, it is a very well put together film.
Absolutely. So let's go into a little more plot detail because I did kind of skip it over. So
sure.
Loki, we thought he was lost to space at the end of Thor. Turns out he isn't actually. S.H.I.E.L.D. is in possession of the Tesseract that fell out of the plane when Captain America crashed it. And Captain America, now, of course, living in modern day. Tony has built Stark Tower in New York, and it's a self-sustaining building that he's taken off the grid and put an arc reactor in. Thor, he's off gallivanting around the universe somewhere. Hawkeye, he's watching over the experimentation that I cannot think of the doctor's name at the moment. Selvig, thank you. That Dr. Selvig is doing on the Tesseract. And Black Widow, well, she's off somewhere, Russia, I think, doing spy things. And Bruce Banner is off in some undisclosed country doing doctory things. Sorry?
He's in Calcutta.
Oh, he's in Calcutta. Okay. So, anyhow, Loki comes back, and he steals the Tesseract from S.H.I.E.L.D. This leads to S.H.I.E.L.D.'s facility being blown up. This puts... well,
to be fair, it was more imploded.
Yeah, you're right. It was imploded. This puts Nick Fury on the defensive, and he decides that it's time to call in the Avengers. So they call in Iron Man. They call in Captain America. They call in Bruce Banner. And they call in Black Widow, and they all meet up on the helicarrier. During Loki's escape, he managed to mind control Hawkeye, so Hawkeye is actually a henchman of Loki early in the film.
And Selvig.
And Selvig, that's right. Selvig goes with him as well. Yeah. So that all happens. They all come together on the helicarrier, and they find out that, Loki is, traipsing around in Germany.
Yeah,
and they send they send Captain America to go save the day. So he shows up, he faces off against Loki. Iron Man crashes that party. Together, they do succeed in bringing Loki down, but it seems awfully easy. They take off in a Quinjet, and lo and behold, Thor shows up and takes Loki away from them. So he lands in a forest, tries to convince Loki to give up on his plan. Iron Man and Cap show up. There's a big fight. They level most of a forest. They realize that they're all on the same side, and they head back to the helicarrier with Loki in tow. They start studying Loki's staff. Loki is using the staff to essentially manipulate them all into getting on each other's nerves more than they necessarily otherwise would, because his goal is to get Bruce Banner to turn into the Hulk and essentially smash them all, so that they're unable to prevent his plan of having the alien army of the Chitauri storm Earth, retrieve the Tesseract for mysterious villain off in space, and grant him rule over planet Earth. They sort of catch on to this, but just as they catch on and realize that they're being manipulated into this plan, Hawkeye and Loki's team shows up. They attack the helicarrier. The attack on the helicarrier leads to Bruce turning into the Hulk. The Hulk smashes the helicarrier, and the whole team is scattered to the wind as a result. This is where they all come back together, realizing that Loki is acting as if he wants an audience, that the most likely place he's going to stage his final attack is going to be in New York. They all travel to New York. Loki does stage his final attack. The Chitauri army comes in from space, and they all start fighting it. Just when all looks like it's lost, the World Security Council orders Nick Fury to fire a nuke at Manhattan Island to level it and prevent the army from overtaking the Earth. Nick Fury decides that he doesn't want to do this, but a plane is launched with a nuke, regardless, going over his head. The nuke is launched at New York. Iron Man sees that it's coming and nobly sacrifices himself to force the nuke up into the portal that is letting the Chitauri army down into New York. He does that. They close the portal. By the skin of his teeth, he falls through the portal just before it closes, lands back in the center of New York. The nuke blows up the Chitauri mothership, and all the Chitauri who are on Earth fall dormant. The Avengers win, and that's basically it. And then they go their separate way. Hooray! And then Loki is taken by Thor back to Asgard.
Yeah, and I do love one of my favorite lines is when he's talking to the council, and they bring up the idea like you let Thor take the Tesseract, and he's like, that wasn't I didn't make the decision. I just didn't argue with the god who did.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, that's a great line.
Yeah.
That's a really great line. There's a lot of really great one-liners in this movie.
So, I said before, this movie is extremely a Joss Whedon film, and it is extremely a Joss Whedon film, for better and worse. Like, there are just so many good lines in this movie. Everybody is just firing on all quip cylinders. It's great.
And the thing I do like about this one is there are a lot of quips and a lot of sort of witty back and forth banter, but it's not super in your face. Like more recently, it was Thor Ragnarok, right?
Yeah.
Thor Ragnarok was real goofy.
Oh yeah.
And I like that. And, we'll talk about that in a couple months. And I'm excited to see it again. But this one just had that sort of subtle, yeah, it's me, I'm here, get used to it kind of thing. Like, it felt very much like he was like, I can't believe I get to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about Joss Whedon here. I can't believe I get to do this, so I'm going to make this movie make it feel as much of my movie as possible.
Yeah, this is a Joss Whedon flavored ice cream cone is what this is.
So when I watch this in 40 years and think, God, I can't believe they let me do this, I could still be like, yep, this is my movie.
It sure is. So now I'm going to ruin it for everybody. This is like if you ever listen to Muse, listen for Matt Bellamy's breathing. But this movie, nobody ever says so-and-so intends to do a thing or he's going to do a thing. No, in every instance of that, kind of statement, he means to destroy us.
Right, yeah.
They say it 6 or 8 times in the movie. Listen for it. It's, he means to do this. He means to do that. They mean to do this thing. I mean to cause trouble. It's like everybody is Mal Reynolds.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's so good though.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
It's such a tremendously good movie.
Oh yeah.
I don't even really know where to start talking about this one. Everybody just fits so well together. Like you kind of they took a big risk. I mean, this entire idea, the MCU as a whole, is just this massive risk that they took that just kind of keeps paying off.
Oh yeah.
And we keep waiting for it to horribly misfire, because a little misfire is fine, right?
Yeah.
Thor 2 is not the greatest movie, but it didn't bring down the MCU.
Yeah, Thor 2 is not an amazing movie, but to draw certain comparisons that will anger the internet, it's not like a Suicide Squad or a Batman versus Superman.
Exactly. Like, it still just works. At its core, it's still an MCU film, and it still just kind of makes sense in the greater scheme of what they're trying to do here. And it's just kind of insane that all of these not only all of these characters, but all of these actors just came together and worked so damn well off each other.
Yeah.
Like the relationships that are formed, you know, that butting of heads between Captain America and Iron Man, and that just, I mean, obviously that continues throughout the series and comes to a head in Civil War, and you get that Barton and Black Widow relationship, and like it just wastes no time, and it's just like, yeah, these two are close, and these two have been through some shit, and I just believe that immediately. And this is coming from, you know, again, a character in Barton that we've only ever seen once for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, and we were had basically no characterization at the time.
And they did a great job of being like, yep, Black Widow's here, and he's important, and he needs to be a part of this team.
Yeah, he is an equal to Black Widow, and that's made clear very quickly.
Yeah, and then you see, you know, I doubt, in fact, I would be sure that they didn't have any idea what Thor Ragnarok was going to look like when they made this movie, but, you know, that fight between the Hulk and Thor on the helicarrier is just like, oh man, you guys get to do this again soon.
Yep.
And that and they're fighting in New York. Again, Thor and the Hulk fighting in New York, and then they take that breather, and Hulk just punches Thor.
It's so good,
which is, you know, one of the great gags from this movie, and there are a lot.
There are,
and we can talk about those in a little bit. But just all of these relationships and characters just work so well together right off the bat.
Yeah,
and it just carries through. It's just unbelievable.
Like, I think one of the great things about sort of how this movie comes together is that, like, initially at the beginning of the movie, we get to see everybody once, right, on their own, doing their own thing. So you get a good feel for how each character, like, just you get a sense of each character doing their own thing. Then the movie splits them into groups, right? And you get like pairings of them.
Yep.
And you get elements of their character and how they're going to riff on each other in those pairings, even though they're antagonistic with each other. So you get like Tony Stark and Bruce Banner being science bros, and Tony kind of antagonizing him, and Bruce just sort of going along with it. You get the fight between Thor and the Hulk. You get the camaraderie between Black Widow and Hawkeye. You get the sort of like alpha male, quote unquote, posturing between Cap and Tony. You get a little bit of the sort of like immovable object, unstoppable force between Thor and Cap, and you get this they just pair them off well enough that you start to see what the group dynamics are going to look like even before the group knows what those dynamics are going to look like. So then when they come together as a team, everything just slots together so well. They do this movie for like, what is it? 142 minutes? Did you say it was
143 minutes?
143 minutes. For as short as that is, they do so much work in terms of making sure that all the pieces get the like enough time to develop and enough time to like present the shape that they're going to be, so that when the full picture comes together, you can see that it's been built. It's not just like thrown together. They like, this movie is constructed, and it's constructed so tightly.
It's actually one of the things that kind of, this is one of those movies where I've probably seen the Battle of New York specifically because of how often this dumb movie is played on TV, like well over 20 or 30 times.
Right.
Like it's somehow I have this uncanny ability to sit down, turn the TV on, and they're rolling into New York, and I'm like, all right, well, it's like half an hour till the end, so I'm going to sit here and watch this. But the amount of times I've actually watched the full movie all the way through, it's probably fairly low, and I kind of forgot just how, I don't want to say small in scale, but this movie doesn't actually take place in very many different places. Like, yeah, it does at the beginning. Like, obviously, you know, you've got New York and Calcutta, and you've got wherever Romanov is, and, you know, that all sort of comes together very quickly, because the minute they're on the ship, the minute they get to the helicarrier, they take a real brief pause, you know, halfway through that time on the helicarrier to go get Loki, and then they come right back, and then you're back on the helicarrier for a whole lot more, and then it's off to New York, and the movie's done.
Yeah.
Right? You spend easily 2/3 of the movie, the entire second and third act, on either the helicarrier or New York.
Yep.
And I kind of forgot about that. And that's one of the reasons I think it works so well and is such a tight movie and just paces itself so incredibly perfectly, is because you're not constantly jumping around. You have this time to breathe with these characters and get to know them in the settings that they're in, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, they're juggling so much character in this movie that if they were trying to juggle locations as well, it would just be a nightmare.
Yep, I agree. All right, I want to talk about Coulson.
Aww.
Because I'm angry. Clark Gregg is awesome.
Yep.
Like, he just seems like a genuinely really great guy.
Yep.
Which is awesome. And Coulson played a really important, like, apart from, you know, Samuel L. Jackson and Nick Fury, he is the second most important member of S.H.I.E.L.D. That exists up until this point. And, you know, spoiler alert, he died, and he needed to, because they needed something, and that was a really great thing to do.
Yep.
Right? They needed a push, and this was a push, and that made sense. And this is one of the rare moments where I'm going to talk about, you know, the TV shows. They bring him back. He exists in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and theoretically still within the MCU. But we have never seen him since. And I think I would probably be less annoyed if there wasn't at least, like, some closure for all of the Avengers here specifically, because they knew who he was.
Right.
Just to sort of talk about the fact that, oh yeah, he's back, he's alive, he's doing well, he's doing his own thing. It just seems like such a missed opportunity never to bring him back. And you talked about last night. You can say what you said to me in text.
So as far as by all public accounts, at least, as far as the, like, production around the Avengers movies are concerned, there is a one-way continuity between the films and the TV shows. Now it's not rigid. Like, the films have the liberty to take whatever they want from the TV shows, but by and large, the public image is that the things that happen in the movies affect the TV shows, but the things that happen in the TV shows don't affect the movies. And
yes. And I get that. That makes sense.
Yeah, and from the Marvel Creative Committee or whatever it is of, like, Kevin Feige and Joss Whedon when he was there and so on, they had made statements public statements to the effect that as far as they are concerned and as far as the movies are concerned, Agent Coulson is dead. It doesn't matter what happens in the TV shows. As far as the movies are concerned, Agent Coulson is dead. So yeah, it's like they didn't even really, like, they've obviously thought about bringing him back, but they, rather than trying to, like, explain it, they can't count on the fact that people have watched the TV show.
Absolutely.
And so they don't want to have to, like, explain his being back in a movie when there's, like, he's moved on to his own subcontinuity and just lives on over there.
Yeah, and I guess so. So the things that I have read, because I started looking into it last night, and one of the main reasons, at least, that I could find, and it makes sense, is that because the movies, production-wise, exist so far in they take, a TV show will shoot a few weeks
right
before it's set to debut on television, whereas a movie can be in production for 2 years.
Yeah.
Right? So it's very hard to line up the story to work like that.
Right.
And that's fair. And I understand that. And that makes sense. I guess I just wish they would have made, and at this point it's really hard because it has been so long. Like, it's been 6 years, right, since this movie. I guess I wished that much sooner they would have made an exception for that character.
Yeah.
Because while I agree trying to interweave all of the TV show continuity with the movies is ludicrous and stupid, and like, I don't think I'm sure there's people who would love it to be the case, but if you take 1 second and think about it, you'll realize how unbelievably impossible that is to do. Mm-hmm. But at least with this one character, I wish they had figured it out earlier. At least, Civil War, or not Civil War, but
Age of Ultron,
Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier, I think, would have been the right place to try to bring him back.
Yeah, that they almost do it in Age of Ultron, because the way the plot or the way the reference occurs to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in that movie is the helicarrier that Nick Fury brings to the final battle in Sokovia in Age of Ultron. He went and got that from Coulson.
Yes.
And like the only problem with Nick Fury not having ever let anybody know that Coulson is still alive is it just kind of makes Fury into a huge jerk, because he knows, and he's just not telling anybody.
Yep.
They don't need that push anymore. It was a push.
Yeah. It's just a little annoying. But the other thing that I read while sort of looking for some of this information was because Captain Marvel is actually taking place in the past.
Yep.
It doesn't actually fall in line with the current timeline. It actually takes place, I think, in the 90s.
Yes,
or something
that's what they've told us so far.
Yeah. So there is rumors that he might be back for that.
That would be great. I'm here for it. Sign me up.
Yeah, because you can easily, it's the 90s, so obviously he's still alive, which would be great. So I would love to see that, just because I would love to see that character again, without having to dig into that TV show, because I kind of left that TV show behind.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
it got a little weird.
From what I understand, so it's one of those weird TV shows that started kind of slow, and then got really good, and then kind of got bad again, and then apparently just got really good again.
Yeah, so it's like the first half of season 1 is kind of dire.
Yes.
The second half of season 1 is pretty darn good.
Well, it's because they were able to catch up to Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the second season is pretty good. The third season is not. And then apparently the fourth and fifth seasons are great.
Yeah.
But there have been so many jumping off points for people that, like, it lost me. I'd have to go back and rewatch the whole thing from the beginning, probably.
Yeah, I would want to as well. All right, that's my Coulson rant.
Yep. But I'm super here for it. If they want to bring him back for Captain Marvel, sign me right up. I'm already excited for that movie. I'd be more excited if he was in it. Part of me wants to see them do a digitally youngified Agent Coulson. The other part of me wants him to look absolutely identical in every way.
Yeah, that would be pretty awesome, actually.
Just completely unchanged.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't really look like... I saw a picture of him while I was looking around last night, and I'm like, you don't really look like you've aged all that much in the last 10 years, so you could probably get away with it.
Yeah.
That would be pretty awesome. All right, let's do the favorite gag.
Oh, don't make me choose.
I have an easy one.
Okay.
or not an easy one, but I know mine. And again, there are a lot.
And there's some really iconic ones.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Galaga one
Galaga's
is
amazing.
probably one of the most iconic ones. But the one for me is while they're sitting around the table on the helicarrier talking about basically how shitty Loki is.
Yep.
Thor's like, "Hey, that's my brother," and I can't remember who said it. I think it was Black Widow was like, he's killed 80 of our men.
80 people.
80 people in the last 48 hours. And he's like, well, he's adopted.
Yep.
Adopted brother. And I'm like, yep, that's it. That's my gag. I love that gag. The delivery is phenomenal.
He's adopted.
From Chris Hemsworth. It's so like, good.
Just completely deadpan. Well, he's adopted.
Yeah. Yeah. It is really good.
that was probably going to be mine too. But like I love so many of the gags in this movie. The iconic ones in my mind being, I understood that reference. I did.
Yes.
I understood that reference. Yep. Which has just been like become a GIF meme now. There's the Hulk smashing Loki back and forth, the puny god moment.
Yeah.
That one's great. Along with the sound he makes when he's just lying there.
There's a lot. One of the fun things about watching this movie for me was I actually brought out my Blu-ray of it.
Oh yeah,
because it's not on Netflix, and I was like, God damn it! Either I pay $5 to rent it, or I move my PS4 out into the living room.
Right.
So fine, I'll do that. And I plugged in the Blu-ray, and we watched the movie, and that was great. And I was like, oh yeah, Blu-ray! Look at all these special features. And there's a lot of really interesting deleted scenes.
Yeah,
that if you have the Blu-ray, I'd suggest checking out. I don't want to get into them here because not everybody's seen them, but there's some interesting stuff there.
Yeah, well, I do want to get into one a little bit.
Okay, that's
just
fair.
Because there's an interesting trend with the two Joss Whedon Avengers movies that they both have a clear subplot that got trimmed.
Which was?
And in this one, it's the coffee shop worker, the one at the end. The movie focuses on her, and she's like, I if Captain America's out there, he saved my life, and I would just want to say thank you. The beginning of that plot line is cut out of the film. So there's like several scenes in the third act where this waitress is like, there's one scene in particular where she's like been rescued from the bank, and Captain America has had his helmet torn off, and it's like this weird sort of setup of the alien ripping his hat off. And then he's outside standing there with his hat off, just like taking a breather. And she walks by and looks shocked as she sees his face. And it's like, because she was supposed to know who he was.
Yeah.
And that just got cut out of the movie for time, I guess. And
I mean, that entire sequence that got cut out, it was a lot of the scene in question is the lead up to his first appearance in the movie, when you go into the boxing gym and he's punching the bag. It's basically the scene. There's like a 2 or 3 minute scene that has been deleted. It's him in his apartment looking at a file of all of his old people. He sees that Peggy is still alive. He thinks about calling her, which is like, that's kind of a big deal. And we didn't get to see that.
Right.
And then you see him sitting at, the coffee shop outside sketching, and that's where he meets the waitress. And that's all been cut out of the film, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. I wonder if it's
curious to know why.
Yeah. I wonder if it's almost because they were concerned that it put too much emphasis on Cap as the main character of the film, which
that's fair.
It might have. But yeah, it ends up feeling a little awkward and weird towards the end, because there's obvious meaning in the looks she's giving him and so on, and there's no setup for it at all. It works, but it feels a little disjointed.
Yep, that's fair. All right, what else do you want to talk about with this one? I mean, it's just really good.
It's really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's great in this one. Loki is great in this one.
Yeah, I mean we've talked about Loki before. He's back. He's kind of a badass here.
Yep. More evil than usual.
Yeah, a lot more evil than usual. A lot more like, you know what, we're just gonna go for it.
Yeah.
A little less. I want to trick my way into, because you never got the sense that he wanted to kill a bunch of people to become the king of Asgard, right?
Yeah.
Like you feel like he kind of just wanted to embarrass, like best case scenario, Loki wanted to embarrass the crap out of Thor, get him banished, and take the crown.
Right.
And in this one, it was just like, nope, F you, I'm gonna take over this planet, and it's gonna require me killing a lot of people, and I don't care anymore.
Yeah,
because I'm angry.
Until he does. Which is a great like character moment in the film when Thor is like fighting with them and basically like, what have you done? Look at what you're doing. There's not going to be a planet left here to rule. And he's like, well, it's too late now.
Yeah, I can't do anything about it.
Which is like, that's a good moment. And I remember there was like a blog post or like a piece of writing analyzing this film around about the time it came out that suggested that he actually won in this movie because his like real intent was to get back to Asgard so that he could, like, he never actually wanted to rule Earth. This was always a move for him to get back to Asgard. Which is like an interesting theory, which sort of pans out in the events of Thor 2. But like you have to look at Loki as playing an extreme long game in order for that to really pan out. But yeah, this is a great movie, and yeah, I knew this was a great movie. This has long been in my top 5 Marvel movies. Like, I mean, and even then, I still forgot how good this movie was.
Yeah, I mean, it is it's no surprise. This is going to be number 1 for both of us here.
Speak for yourself, James. Whatever, you're Matt, totally right. This is number 1. Windmill Slam number 1.
It's Windmill Slam number 1, and it's Windmill Slam number 1. Again, no spoilers, but I don't really care. Like I don't think it was going to be a major shock. I guarantee you, the listener, that the next 3 movies are not going to take number 1 spot.
Which are
the Avengers? Sorry,
which are Iron Man 3, Thor 2,
Iron Man 3, Thor 2, and then actually no, because then it's Captain America.
Right, then it's Winter Soldiers. Winter Soldier might.
I don't know though. It's been really. I think the fascinating thing about doing this podcast is seeing all of these movies so close together makes it so much easier to actually judge them with one another.
Yeah.
Because again, if 2 months ago I would have been like, Winter Soldier is probably like one of my all-time favorite movies, let alone Marvel movies.
Right.
But having now rewatched the Avengers again in context with the first 5 films, and all seeing that within the a month of one another, it's just like, God, this is so good. Like what they did here is more or less impossible, and there are very few people on the planet who would have been able to do it than the people who were behind, the start of the MCU.
Yeah, I mean, as evidenced by other various studios' attempts to launch cinematic universes, it turns out it's not easy to do.
Yeah, no, it's not just about the characters, and it's,
it needs a singular focus on executing on that idea, and a long-term vision in terms of that execution.
Yeah. And this is just like, I knew this movie was just going to make me ache for Infinity Wars. Because it's just like, the Avengers was so good, and Infinity Wars is going to be so good. Like, I'm a little concerned at how high my expectations are for Infinity
Yeah,
Wars.
we were talking about the catastrophic, like, blowout failure of a movie. Just watch.
Yeah.
We'll have put all this time into preparing for Infinity War, and that will be the one.
It just turns out they messed it up right at the end.
Yeah.
That would suck. I would probably cry.
So thanks for tuning in to Countdown to Infinity.
No doubt, eh? Oh, dear. All right, well, last chance. What else? Anything else we want to talk about before we wrap this one up? I'm just trying to think, like...
There's lots... I don't know. I feel like we've done a pretty full roundup of this movie at this point. I think we can safely put this one in the can.
All right, that's fair.
As soon as we sign off, I'll think of something, and I'll regret all my life choices up to this point. But
that's fine. We can just edit around.
All right,
it's no big deal. But all right, so I guess that's going to do it for the 6th episode of Countdown to Infinity, your MCU rewatch podcast of choice. We appreciate everybody who listens, leaves comments, likes the video, shares it with their friends. Y'all are awesome. Of course, this wouldn't be possible without all of your support over at patreon.com/LoadingReadyRun. Go check it out. We'd really appreciate it. You can find myself. I'm James over on Twitter at James_LRR. And all the other stuff that we do at LoadingReadyRun at LoadingReadyRun.com. You can find Matt over at Matt_LRR
on
that
Twitter and Twitch.
Yeah, on Twitter and Twitch. And then I guess just go to YouTube and search Matt Wiggins.
Yeah, one day we should put like a link in somewhere that people can just click. But until that day, we'll just keep telling people to just search my name. No,
that's a good idea. Look in the comments below. Look in the show notes if you're listening audio only, or in the description below. And we'll put links to all of that jazz.
Oh, that actually
below.
Yeah, we'll just
so you can
find Loading Rerun.
Click.
You can just click on us on YouTube and be introduced to the works of Loading Ready Run.
Yeah, exactly. Because I assume none of you know what that is.
Hey, I feel like the YouTube algorithm is working in your favor for at least 1 or 2 viewers an episode.
I hope so. I should maybe look at the stats. I've never looked to see the viewership versus subs to our channel and not subs to our channel. It's actually a really interesting statistic. On average, at least on Loading Ready Run's channel, like 23 to 25% of our views come from people who aren't subscribed to the channel.
Interesting.
So if you're listening right now and or watching, and you are doing so on YouTube and you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. I would appreciate it. Also the like button. I would appreciate that too. But yeah, we will be back next week with the 7th installment, which is Iron Man 3.
Yay, more Iron Man.
Woo! All right, we're back. Because we got a post-credit scene
we do
to talk about. And that is...
Hey, you may recall I mentioned that there was a mysterious space villain.
Sure, yeah.
Turns out there is a mysterious space villain.
What's his name?
Well, it's you may have heard of him before. He's a little enamored with the literal personification of death in the Marvel universe. His weapon of choice is a gauntlet of a sort of infinite quality, and it's Thanos.
Yeah,
it's Thanos. Yeah.
So right there, the introduction of the character that we are literally working our way towards, right?
Yep.
If you didn't know, spoiler alert, Thanos is the big bad guy in Infinity War.
Yeah.
I apologize if that comes as a shock to you. But yeah.
Spoilers. Jeez.
Spoiler alert. He looks really cool here. There's been a lot of not great reaction to how he actually looks in Infinity Wars.
He's been redesigned a little.
Yeah, he's a little bit more Josh Brolin looking.
Well, yeah, because he is Josh Brolin now.
Yeah, exactly. So this isn't actually Josh Brolin here. It's a guy named Damien Poitier? Poitier?
That could be.
Who's an American actor and stuntman. I don't really know. I would love to know the story behind how he became Thanos here. And if he's angry that he didn't actually get to play Thanos when it was time for him to be in an actual movie.
Yeah, I mean, my wild guess is that they already had him on, like, he was a stuntman for the movie, and they were just like, you aren't one of the actors, here, let's make you up and then CG you, and you can sit in this chair and turn. You're a big dude.
He was man number one in the Avengers.
Awesome.
And Thanos. Uncredited. As
from
Thanos.
One end of the scale to the other there.
And then what else did he get to do? He was in Civil War as one of Crossbones' mercenaries, so that's neat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so Thanos shows up, and I mean, that's literally what the next 30,000 movies are about.
Yes.
Leading up towards.
Yeah, 6 years later, we still haven't actually met him.
We do. So soon. Like 2 months. Wait, February to March to April. 3 months.
Yeah. 3 months and one additional Marvel movie between us and there.
Yeah. Hey, that one comes out next week.
It does. I'm hype.
Yeah, we're going to need to figure out. I'm hoping that it's going to be in some form of on demand or available to just purchase.
Yeah. One hopes.
'Cause I don't really want to steal it.
I don't know what you're talking about. Acquire. The term is acquire.
Yeah. Sorry, acquire. Anyways, so
I mean,
yeah.
For all intents and purposes, I'm going to see it at least once in theaters, and as soon as the Blu-ray comes out, I'm going to buy it. So I feel like there's maybe an ethical offset there.
Oh, all right. I like your thinking. Ethical offsets. It's like carbon offsets, right?
Yes, that's totally how it works. Cap and trade.
Yeah. Cap and trade. Awesome. All right. That's actually going to do it. We've talked about Thanos. We'll see y'all next week. No, I'm just joking.
Thank you. We didn't discuss this beforehand, and I was worried that you weren't going to do it, but I was hopeful that you were going to do the joke.
Yeah, of course I'm going to do the joke.
Excellent.
Hey, we're back to eat shawarma.
Yep. Man, this is going to be the longest podcast ever when we get to Guardians 2.
Oh God. So I did a little bit of reading on this because I was genuinely curious.
Yes.
And there wasn't any like massive study done, which is fair because that would be silly. But there were a lot of individual shawarma places across the U.S. Who were interviewed shortly after this movie came up. And many of them report 50 to 100% increases in sales.
Awesome.
Directly because of this movie.
That's amazing.
And because of the true post-credit scene. Because what we didn't mention earlier there is that Thanos was actually the first mid-credit scene.
That's right.
We have not actually seen that until this movie. And then does it become the norm? Is it every movie since has had a mid and post, or I don't remember.
I don't remember Iron Man 3.
I don't want to say that that's the case, but it definitely was.
Like
here.
Thor 2 definitely does.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't remember.
And then I'm really curious, can we see post-production shawarma?
Yeah, so there's this one has a story about it, right? Where like this was not originally planned to be on the movie, but at the I'm
reading the post-production here on Wikipedia.
Okay.
An additional coda involving the Avengers eating shawarma was shot April 12th, 2012, a day after the world premiere.
Right.
Evans wore a prosthetic jaw while filming the scene to cover the beard he had grown.
What?
Yeah.
Now I have to go back and watch it again.
Yeah. Shawarma sales in LA, St. Louis, and Boston reportedly skyrocketed in the days following the film's release. Whedon stated that the inspiration for the shawarma scene came from the events surrounding the filming of the scene where Fred dies in Wesley's arms in Angel. After the filming the scene, Whedon and the actor Amy Acker and Denisoff, who portrayed Fred and Wesley respectively, went out for drinks and ended up just sitting around quietly, exhausted from the day's events, which Whedon then mimicked in the scenes for this film.
Which is so good.
Yeah, that's just such a Joss Whedon thing to do.
Yeah, but so there's a lot of things I love about this scene. Not the least of which is that earlier in the New York fight, there's a scene where Iron Man is getting it he's just getting his ass handed to him, and he is literally in front of a shawarma shop. Yeah. You can see the sign in the background, and then when he lands at the end, he's like, "Yeah, there's a shawarma place a few blocks from here. I don't know what it is, but I want to try it." And yeah, the whole shawarma shop being destroyed, and the two workers in the background sweeping the floor,
sweeping up glasses.
And they've got there's a shelf that's halfway knocked over and broken glass, and they're all just sitting there at the one table, just quietly nibbling away. Oh man, it's a good scene.
It's really good.
It's a very good scene.
Yeah. All right, but that's actually going to do it. That is actually the end of the podcast, and well, this was almost an hour long, so I kind of figured that was going to be the case.
Yeah, worth it.
Worth it. All right, we'll see you next week for Thor 2.
No, Iron Man 3.
Iron Man 3.
Easy mistake to make.